Welcome to Coffee for Closers, everybody. I am here with Mr. Rick Kallmeyer, and we're talking all about the second appointment in the federal virtual sales process. We just kind of redefined appointment one the last episode. This episode, we are talking all about how to do the second appointment, bridging your gap into the financial appointment. I'm here with Rick Kallmeyer in studio. Thanks for being here, Rick.
Hey, man, always good. Always good.
We went through pretty much everything there was to talk about in a first appointment, and we kind of maybe we'll recap that for just a little bit here. But we're gonna walk through appointment 2, which is kind of this is the crucial appointment, right? Mm-hmm. This is where you're gonna sell them into, or you're gonna start to transition them from federal benefit advisor to financial planner, retirement planner, where you are the person that's going to lend an arm or kind of offer your services now.
Yeah, I think this is the point where you start switching from an educator into an advisor.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Right? I mean, and that's the trick, right? Because a lot of folks kind of do that in the first appointment, and that's where they're struggling, right? But at this point, we've come back to the table. Let's recap a little bit. In the first appointment, we came into it as an educator. We established ourselves as the absolute expert in this space, and we educated them on the answers to their question, all leading to them needing a benefit analysis, some proper benefit analysis. When was the last time you had a benefit analysis done? They answered the 7 key questions to the first appointment. If you're looking for that and you watch the show, that is available in the resource section. But so they answered the 7 key questions. We ran a track report for them, and now we're going in to the second appointment where we're going to kind of do a few things, right? Mm-hmm. First of which is establishing or reestablishing the rapport, right?
Yep.
So coming back in, we're talking with the client. We're saying, we're kind of recapping ourselves like last appointment. We kind of went through this. This might have even been yesterday, preferably. Like that's what I've suggested to folks. That's what we do here internally. But that's it's not always the case. Sometimes you got to push it out. But preferably, I want the second appointment to happen very close to the first appointment. I don't want too much time to go by.
A whole week to pass, especially with a weekend in it or something like that. You don't need all that.
There's no need. And you're almost phrasing. I was just on with an advisor a few minutes back, and we were talking about it, and he was phrasing the appointment all wrong, coming back like it's going to be this long, drawn-out second appointment.
Yep.
No, it's going to be when I'm setting up this second appointment, coming into this second appointment, I'm saying to them like, and then we're going to go over the full benefit analysis. I'm going to walk through so every detail that's on that, so you can walk away from this really having a firm understanding where you are and where you're going, whether you should make some changes or not. We'll talk 15, 20 minutes or so, and you'll be on your way. What's happened though is we've run the report, and now we're going to go into this appointment, and now we're kind of, as we go into this appointment, be like, okay, it's going to be a little more than 15 minutes. If you phrase it like it's going to be some big, long, hour-long appointment next time, they're not going to, they don't want to do that yet.
If you're saying on your second appointment, now I need your social security statements for you and your spouse. I need your leave and earnings statement, your TSP statement, any other brokerage statements you have. And we're going to spend the second appointment going through all this information as well as covering your benefit analysis.
They shouldn't know that we're going through any of that yet. Because the system we're going to show you guys it's not necessary to have those forms yet.
Yep.
It's not necessary.
See, and you're still in the federal education mindset. You're still teaching them about their federal benefits. It's just theirs now rather than just federal benefits.
They don't know what's going on next, right? They don't know that you're going to lead them to the conclusion of there's a problem here and we got to solve it. And there's ways to solve it. Let me show you some just quick theories on how this all plays out.
Yeah, and I've always liked the way that you position, especially federal sales, because you always leave this like caveat to it that they've done everything right. Like you leave the door open to say like, hey, look, we're going to come back and see if we want to leave things just the way that they are, or if there's some things we need to fix.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure the full psychological aspect of that, like what that's accomplishing, but I've always liked that option of like, you're not directly saying like, hey, look, we're going to come and we're going to make some moves here. It's like, hey, I got to look at your stuff I don't know. I've always liked that kind of like, to me, it always comes off as like a very comforting thing of like, hey, look,
people want to like, I shouldn't I don't know any, like if according to this sales process, I don't know anything about them as far as their financial prowess. All I know is what their benefits question was in the last appointment. And it just so happened that their question was something that I needed to have a benefit analysis run. Now that I've run a benefit analysis, I'm going to walk them through it and be like, okay, talk to me about your plan here. What's going on? Because, you know, when I see this, I don't think happy, healthy retirement, you know, or whatever. Like they don't even know yet. So why should I, in that last appointment, have told them anything other than, yeah, you know, this is likely going to be a great situation. Right? Because 9 out of 10 times it is. This just happens to be the 1 out of 10 times that it's not going to be. And quite frankly, folks, there's a lot of federal employees that you're going to go across that don't need any help. And you're going to give them some advice. You're going to talk them through it, and it's going to be fine. Right? You might sell them a life insurance policy. I wish I had to do that too. Because honestly, like even if they're not 59 and a half, there's still so much opportunity. And if you don't just, I mean, I got to do this appointment with the guy anyway. I just set it up with him. Right? So why wouldn't I sell the life insurance policy while I'm there? It's no sweat off my brow. I got my team at Megastar Advisors that's going to help me man the front for underwriting, get that all pushed through. My Brokers International team. You've got a lot of hands to help you with that. So why would I, you know, not just paper the guy up for life insurance if we can? It's because we don't know the conversation or how to tee it up most of the time. But then we're going to go through this. We go through the maximization strategies. Anyway, we'll bring it up. But Will, why don't we bring this up on the screen real quick? Oh, sorry. Let me bring this up. Bingo.
Here we go.
All right. So I ran a little Jane Doe scenario, right? We got Jane Doe. And we are going to, and this is just exactly how I'll do it in the appointment. I'm using my iPad because I want to draw on this report for them. This is virtual. If I'm in front of them in person, I've printed this copy out for us, so we're going to go through it page by page. But if this is on a virtual screen, it's like it's not much different than what we're doing right now. You know, we'll go back to the first person real quick. You just go back to looking at me. Go back to like, so we're talking with the consumer just like this.
On Zoom.
Right, on Zoom. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to bring something on the screen. We're going to go through your report now. We built rapport back up from the last appointment. We went through, so we talked about the kids and, you know, the situation they're in, looking forward to retirement. All right, so I ran your report. You know, remember last time we went through, you had a question about your pension or your TSP allocation strategy. Let's keep that in mind. But let's run through the report right now so I can walk you through exactly what I found, okay? And then I switch up on the screen exactly what I'm going to show them. Right? They can still
almost identical. Instead of us being up in the top corner, it'd just be you and them.
Yeah, it's just me and them, right? So it's the perfect scenario that we're about to show out to these folks. All right, so this is a simple page or simple process, right? There's not much to this report. This is it. That's it. That's the report. Little disclosure in 4 pages, sorry. All right, so first page is just going to be right there. I'm just going to have the overview, the pension. So we're going to go through the pension. All right, so Rick, we ran the analysis. This is going to come back. So basically, you're making about $100,000 a year. And you've worked with the government since 2003. And so basically, you know, you mentioned to me last time you didn't have a full understanding of the pension. You knew some stuff about the pension. Let's go over how all this works, okay? Just so you know exactly what's going on. Basically, you've got three. Let me just make sure I got my pen right. You've got three options with your pension. Okay, you got three selections for your pension. You've got the unreduced annuity. You've got the max survivor and the partial survivor. Okay. You got the partial survivor. So the the unreduced annuity, what this is going to do for you is essentially it's going to give you the most upfront money that you could possibly get. Unreduced, completely unreduced. That means you're getting every bit of your pension right out of the gate when you retire. So while you're both alive, you're going to get $1,590 per month for the rest of your lives until you pass away. Sorry, Rick, I also made you Jane Doe. Unfortunately, I should have done John Doe.
That's all right.
But it's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
So you're going to be $1,590. If you were to or if your wife was to pass away first, you'd still get that $1,590, of course. And if if you passed away before your loved one, she would be left with nothing in that situation.
Yep.
Sounds negative, but just hold on here now, because there's two other options as well. So you've also got the max survivor annuity, right? The max survivor. Do you see that? There's 50%. You see that? Basically, what that means is that we're going to pay a little bit in the upfront costs while we're both alive in order to provide our spouse with half of the unreduced annuity. And I'm drawing it just like that for them. I want them to realize that this is half, not of this number right here, half of this $1,590. Okay. And what it's charging you is 10%. 10%. So you're getting charged 10% fee to have that benefit for your loved one. But, $159 per month for the rest of your life while you're both alive. If you pass away, though, you get what's called a pop-up. You get a pop-up. And this pop-up is going to allow you to get popped up to the unreduced amount, $1,590.
Yep.
Make sense? All right.
So if you die before your spouse passes away, or your spouse passes away before you die, the government looks at it and says, hey, look, you don't have a spouse anymore. We're not going to keep penalizing you for her possible survivor benefits or his possible survivor benefits. We're going to pop you up.
It's going to pop up. You're going to get a pop-up. It's a nice feature. But you are paying $159 for essentially a $795 per month life insurance payout.
Yep.
Okay? It's basically like life insurance. You're paying for it out of your pension for 10% of the unreduced amount. $159 life insurance policy. All right? Now, the other part of it is a partial survivor, which is obviously going to offer 25%. What that means is instead of $795, you're going to give your wife $398 for the rest of her life if you were to pass away. While you're living, though, while you're both alive, you're going to take home a little bit more than you would have in the max survivor annuity.
Yep.
That means you are going to be charged 5% of the unreduced amount, basically working out to $80.
Half of the 10%.
Exactly, half of the 10%. And you will also have this pop-up feature there for you. Okay? It's a pretty simple system, but what gets complicated about this is it's very easy for us to feel like this is the no-brainer option. We've got a loved one, we want to make sure they're taken care of. That's the natural inclination. And that's certainly fine. It's just something that you have to weigh as a federal employee, is to really think through the three options that you have here. Option 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Make sense?
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to your life insurance, because I know you had a little bit of life insurance as well. So let's talk about the FEGLI, Federal Employee Group Life Insurance, as it's known. Okay. The group life insurance that you have basic only. This is a pretty typical policy for federal and folks. Now, what you're paying $1,590 or $1,530 per month, or per biweekly, $33.15 per month, $39.70 or $397.80 annually for the life insurance policy. This is your current premiums.
Yep.
You're probably familiar, you probably see these on your leave and earnings statement. Does that make sense to you? And I'm always checking in with them. Are you following me? Is there something that am I moving too fast? And this is something naturally that our advisors do very well. It's this, I need to take these little pulses. Constantly. Okay. And I'm drawing on the screen, so I want them to know what numbers I'm talking about.
And especially when you're doing Zoom and over a web platform where I can't see you truly face to face.
Right. We're in a little bubble in the corner, right? Like you can't see me too well. And quite frankly, with Zoom, I don't know if many people are aware of this, but if I'm talking, it's canceling your noise out unless you start talking loudly. And then it starts to realize, it'll start to send me feedback as an orator that says, hey, there's somebody else talking. But there's a lag there.
So you don't have the communication thing where I can just stop you and talk over you.
Right.
And stop.
I can't. There's no context clues. I can't see in your eyes that you're not following me. So I've got to take those pulses. All right. So that's your current premiums. That's what you're paying right now. And what this software does nicely for us when we get a good true benefit analysis is it's going to calculate our average premiums until retirement. Now you're retiring not too long from now. You're planning to retire next year. Biweekly. You'll have an average premium of $35.70. It's because it's going to take a jump here as you get to 62. Same here, $77.62 a month, $930 a month. So you've basically doubled your premium cost right there. Okay. Now, but look, what's interesting about FEGLI and the federal service as it goes on, is that it starts to get a little more expensive. The reason being FEGLI, the really great part about FEGLI is that it's one of the few employer-sponsored plans that will allow you to continue coverage into retirement. Most places, like if I got a job at Raymond James, or I got a job, I'm thinking local Tampa companies here, but if I got a job in the private sector and they offered a benefit of life insurance to the employee base, it's a group life plan. They have to take everybody. And so at the end of your working life, they just boot you. It's over. You lived the entire time. We covered you the whole time. So if you had passed away during that time, we would have paid your wife a great tax-free death benefit. But you lived it. It's over. I got a lot of people with pre-existings to insure. I got to get the retirees off. And that seems fair. But the FEGLI goes the extra mile and says, I'm going to allow you to be on this. Right? And that's a cool thing to point out to federal employees. I think first off, this is the biggest has the most people insured. It's the largest group life insurance plan in the world. In the world. And so they've got all of these people. All right, bring this back up here. So it's going to start to increase. But the way they kind of get rid of people in FEGLI, because they're going to offer it while you retire, is they start to increase your costs, increase in cost. Now, with the basic, it only does one major increase, and then it starts to level off the cost of insurance. So you end up with $250 right out the gate. Why? Because the government is no longer paying their side of it. Okay? You're taking on the full burden of this life insurance policy. So instead of paying $398 for this life insurance policy, now you're going to be taking $3,005. Do you know where they're going to take this $250 from? This $250 of premium from?
Where?
Well, Rick, they're going to take it from your pension. It's coming right out of this amount. So if you're taking the $1,431, you got to less the $250 right from this. Where do they take it from? Obviously, they take it from your pension.
As well as your FEHB and other benefit plans you have.
Right. So you continue down that path, right? And so you're like, okay, so this is coming out of your pension. Your health insurance is coming out of your pension. That's all stuff that we need to be cognizant about. And you still got the same $102,000. So we've got to be cognizant as we go into retirement. I know this wasn't your main question, but it's something that you should be thinking about, and I'm sure you already have thought about. And I'm saying all these things because I want them to feel like they might nod along. Like, of course, I thought about that. I thought about that. Of course I thought about that. Of course I thought. No, you didn't think about that. There's no way you did.
There's no way you knew about it.
There's no way you knew about it because most federal employees, I'm taking the bet, the 90% bet. This is the safest bet on the table right now that you don't know all of this stuff. Now, if you do know it, what am I doing? Further establishing myself as the absolute expert in the space. You're not going to fool me. I'm teaching you everything. And you might have even interrupted me if you really knew what it was, right? But they don't. So you nod along. Okay, so you've got this $102,000 and this policy will stay in force. But a lot of folks, what they do is called a 75% reduction. And what that does is it slashes this 102 down by 75%. So you're left with 25% of the 102,000. Does that make sense? And what it ends up doing is it reduces your costs. It becomes a reduced, paid up life insurance policy. Right? And so basically you'll have this small $25,000 or so, $25 or $21 or $26,000, $27,000 in life insurance. This essentially becomes what's known in the business, life insurance business, as a burial policy. Okay? So that's your life insurance. And, it's your decision what you want to do with it as far as, and I'm always keeping the dead space, the dead time as we're talking, as I'm erasing stuff or clearing the board or whatever of the conversation. I'm keeping that conversation flowing, right? So there's all kinds of things that you can do. Like, so it's your decision whether you reduce the benefit or not as you go through it, Rick. But it's up to you. You don't need to. You can keep the policy in force. If it's something that you're really banking on, then absolutely. If you keep the policy in place, if you need that income to provide for the misses beyond the grave, absolutely. We can talk about ways for you to preserve those costs without actually running out of your pension money, And there is, don't forget about your Social Security, and we can talk about that in a few here. But basically, the last benefit we got to talk about is your TSP. Okay, so essentially, this last little page here, Rick, of any benefit analysis is just going to kind of show your particulars, your date of birth, of course. You've got your employment years. Right now, you started in 2003. You're making $100,000 a year. We're not expecting any raise next year. You've got 18 years and 2 months right now. But or by the time you retire, you will have 19 total years. Okay, your high 3 average, if you continue with this $100,000, is going to be $100,000. Pretty simple. We made this as simple as possible just for explanation purposes, of course. But your high 3 average is going to be $100,000. Basically, you're making about $83.33 per month. Okay, that's your monthly income right now. And your expected retirement is going to be January 31st, 2022. They always choose the end of the month. And you know why they choose the last day of the month?
Payouts begin in the beginning of the month.
That's right. Employees. They're going to process it quicker. They're going to get it through. Okay, so you're a federal employee that knows that. Fantastic. That's awesome. You know, this is something that a lot of federal. So if you know something, I diminish it.
Yep.
You know, through positive affirmation, but I diminish it. You know, exactly. It's one of the most common things that federal employees know is that they need to retire. It's something that everybody talks about. The water cooler diminishes what you think you know. You think you're smart. You might not be as smart as you think you are, right? Anyway, so a lot of my clients had questions about that in the past, but they you know, this is the most common things that have, I mean, it's kind of been working its way through the government lately, and a lot of people are understanding it. So that's fantastic. Again, this is just going to outline your pension options right there. Your federal savings account, or your TSP, is right here. Now, TRAC doesn't have the rights to call it the TSP, which is annoying. So I always circle it and write TSP right on it, so they know what it is. No confusion. This is the TSP. And then you've got your group life insurance down here. Okay, Rick, does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, so with the TSP, you're contributing 5% of your annual income, 5% of $100,000. So you will have a current balance. You have a current balance of $350,000, and your remaining balance at retirement is looking like it's going to be $371,011. Okay. The reason we're doing a projection, this is a safe projection, Rick. This doesn't mean this is exactly what the account's going to be, but if we take a very modest growth potential, and you're basically in the G fund right now, so the 2% assumed rate of gain in the G fund, which would be great for the next year, to be honest, considering it's starting out at 65 basis points at this point in gross gain. You know, basically we've got to decide how we want to invest. You know, your question to me originally, let's say your question was your TSP allocation strategy. It's like, okay, well, we're in the G fund, right? And you are in retirement, or about to be in retirement. You're 1 year away. The idea closer to retirement, and I'm going to give you some positive affirmation, is to be more secure. You want to secure funds as much as possible, but you also want growth potential. Right? You want to have some growth potential, and the G fund is good.
Right now, you're not even keeping up with inflation.
But you're not even keeping up with inflation. Great point, right? Like the inflation, you are actually losing money by staying in the G fund. Now, am I saying that you need to go to the F or the C? Well,
get real risky.
That depends on how we decide to take our other benefits. Does that make sense to you? We talked about this a little bit on the first appointment. Does that make sense? Do you remember why? Yeah, maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Normally
right?
no, but
I don't remember why, right? And so now we're going to start hitting into the actual retirement theory. Like this, I don't have anything else for this appointment. I don't have an illustration to show them. I don't have anything. Why? Because I'm not going to tip my hand that I pre-planned this, right? I'm coming into this appointment and I'm going to draw on this piece of paper, this report that we're talking about. I'm going to draw what I'm talking about here. Let's say, look, you have a decision to make. You have like, how much expenses do you need? It's like, okay, so you asked me, let's go back, just role play it back just a tiny bit here. Back to, we're talking about the security. It's like, okay, you're asking me whether you should stay in the G fund, but again, you want to have some upside because of risks. You have got risks in retirement. Like a lot of retirees, pre-retirees go either one extreme or the other. They're so invested in the stock market that they're super exposed to risk, or they think they're doing the right thing by completely securing assets in either a government and bonds or in CDs annuities or CDs.
Frankly, cash
and
sometimes.
Cash sometimes. Like I'm throwing annuities in there. I'm throwing everything in there. It's like you don't want to throw all your money in there. You need to potentially get some upside. Right? And because you're not keeping up with inflation, does that mean you need to go into your F fund or your C fund? No, not necessarily. What it means is that we need to decide what we're going to do, what we need this money to do for us in retirement, and how much of it do we need? Because right now you've got $371,000, right? And so, Rick, if you have $371,000 here, and you've got this life insurance policy, and you had already told me that you're planning on doing this 75% reduction. You had kind of mentioned that to me, and in the first appointment, like the first time we went over this, you were considering doing the Max Survivor annuity. Yep. Well, I might condone that, to be honest, because quite frankly, right now, you've got no assets to provide for your wife.
Yep.
Right?
You got 25% of the $100,000 of life insurance you have. You've got $300,000 in your TSP to hopefully float you through the next X amount of years, 10 to 15 years before you or your, before you pass away.
This is somebody making a modest income, a decent, a great income, right? That has very little saved up, $371,000. It's nothing to shake a stick at. Heck, I'd love to write a $350,000 annuity, no problem, right? But what I have trouble seeing with this situation right now is I got $371,000 in assets, a pension, and Social Security.
And a lifestyle of making $100,000 a year.
A lifestyle that needs $100,000.
4 years of income.
4 years of income. So where do I need to go next? I need to figure out their expenses. Right? So I'm going to transition and say, look, $371,000 is nothing to shake a stick at, Rick. And depending on what our expenses are in retirement will dictate how we take our pension, what we need to do with our pension, what we should do with this life insurance policy, and how we would best maximize our TSP for distribution of assets, right? Because it's not necessarily, oh, I just need to expose myself to more risk to get more upside, and that's it. Well, no, because if this is all I have, this $371,000 is all I have to live and fulfill my lifestyle now and provide for the missus after I pass away, I need to secure as much of this as possible. But I also need it to grow, right? Because it's not enough to do both of those things. So let's talk about it for just a second here. What did you say you were planning to do with the pension?
We're looking at Max Survivor.
Right. You know what I mean? It's like I'm jumping right into no question. I'm just coming right back to, so what was it that you said you were going to do with the pension? You may not have even told me that, but I'm coming right back to it because I'm in the middle of telling you how to allocate your TSP. I'm in the middle of showing you how to allocate the TSP or giving you my suggestion as a doctor of federal benefits. Right. So I go through this and I say, okay, so you got $795,000. This $795,000. So you're going to take the Max Survivor. The only reason that we would want to do this is because we plan to not keep the FEGLI. We're not going to even keep it. And we don't have enough assets elsewhere other than our TSP doesn't have a sizable asset, or we don't have other assets, or our expenses are really low. Let's talk about those things. Talk to me about your expenses. What kind of expenses do you guys use monthly?
You want me to shoot some numbers off?
Yeah, just throw something out. I don't care.
I don't know. We spend somewhere between, $3,600 and $4,200
Remember,
a month.
you make $8,300. That's why it's so nice to have this number on the screen here, or this number right here. This monthly number. I know you make $8,333 per month.
Yeah, let's say we're living. I'm spending 6 to 7.
You've got to be. Because you only have $371,000 in your TSP. The best thing since sliced bread. Now you're maxing out your TSP. So when I see this, you're maxing out your contribution. You're maxing out your match. Is 5% for anybody watching. The 5%. It triggers me to think that you have other assets because that's the smart thing to do. To only be putting 5% in, you make a very large sum. Very few people spend $6,000 to $7,000. Even the wealthiest of people spend $6,000 to $7,000 of their annual. Does your wife work? I've talked to you about that. I probably know if your wife works or not. Right from the first appointment. But let's get back to it. Expenses wise, let's talk about it because what we want to know is like, do we need this income to provide for our spouses for the expenses? Like, what are you guys spending? Maybe $3,000-4,000 a month. I mean, I can even lead them if I need to. $3,000-4,000. Okay, so I'm just going for an example. This is conceptual, right? I don't need to be specific. I don't need them to know these numbers off the top of their head. A lot of advisors are like, oh, I need them to have their reports right now. I need them to fill out a fact finder, do some real homework.
Budget planning.
I have not outed myself as a financial plan. I'm not a financial plan. I'm still giving them advice on how to allocate that TSP. So I go through the expenses. You say $3,000. $3,000. Okay, fantastic. We go through that. Okay, so you have $3,000. Well, you're going to pay. You got $1,400 coming from your
Max Survivor.
Max Survivor. And you remember you're going to lose $250 if you keep the life insurance policy, but you told me you're going to get rid of that. So you're going to take home the majority of this. Are you going to stay on the health insurance?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to stay on the health insurance. So let's say that's another $500 gone. Okay. Or you suspend it. Might be less than that. Who knows? Right? We'll scratch that up. Right? So you got the $1,400. Plus you got your Social Security. Any idea what your Social Security is going to be? Let's call it $1,200.
Okay.
All right, because you're $100,000 earner, that's roughly about what you would be doing right then. And then you've got, so that's $2631 that you got from Social Security and your pension, right? Yeah, I got that right. All right, and then you've got another, so you got $3,000 in expenses. Does it equal 30? No, it doesn't. So we're going to need this pension to fix it up. If we just take the unreduced amount, we're good. We don't even have to draw on this TSP.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have to start taking money out, right? But remember, we're canceling this
life insurance
policy, so it's gone. I'm not going to be giving anything to my missus beyond the grave. Unless you have other life insurance policies. Do you have any other life? Okay. So it's something we got to think about. You told me in your last appointment that your wife doesn't work, right? So she's going to be taking her spousal Social Security. So that's going to add up. So you got $600 there, right? And now you're making your nut. You're hitting your nut. You got $3,000 worth of expenses, which likely wouldn't be there. I'm starting to find other assets. If the expenses are this low, they're making $8,300 per month. They're going to start. They have other assets.
Yeah,
out
absolutely.
there,
Absolutely.
right? So now it's about well, you're going to lose this $1,400 when you pass away, right? So now we got to start planning for how we're going to take care of the missus beyond the grave. You give her $795. Now remember, this is taxable. This is taxable, and potential, or this is 85% taxable, your Social Security. And then you've got also any other assets that you have, depending on how you distribute those, will be affected by taxes. The problem is you're buying her essentially a worse FEGLI policy than you could have bought
for $250.
For $250.
Yep.
Wait, no, for $150.
Sorry, $159. Yeah.
$159. Right. So let's rephrase that. Let's bring that back just a second here. The thing is, we're buying, if we choose to do this, what are we buying here, Rick? Let's just recap it just for a second.
Yeah.
You've got yourself expenses. You told me that your expenses were X, right? And you're planning to take this Max Survivor. Why are you taking this Max Survivor? Let's rephrase it just a bit. Why are you taking the Max Survivor?
Because I want the most for me and then the most for, I guess not the most for me, but I want the most for my spouse.
Yeah, you want to take something, you want to pass something on to your spouse. And why, again, were you getting rid of the FEGLI insurance again? The group life insurance?
Because it's going to get expensive.
Okay. But so is this policy. It's charging you $159. Right? The other one is going to charge you, I think, $300, or let's see exactly what it was going to charge me. It was $250. $217, really.
Okay.
Right? Because you see here, it's going to be $217 from then on. So $217. Now, you got her a life insurance policy of $795 per month for the rest of her life, but this is fully taxable, right? And illiquid.
Can't move it, can't touch it, can't change it.
Right? You can't move it, can't touch it. It is what it is. It's essentially a structured settlement.
Yeah, absolutely what it is.
It's a structured settlement for your loved one that she has no abilities with. The thing is, a lot of folks make the mistake of taking the Max Survivor. It's a joke. The reason being is you've got this opportunity with the $1,590 and the fact that you have very little other assets here. And this is the point where it's like, okay, if I start to say that he has very little other assets, assuming he's got TSP, he's going to start telling me about his other assets right then. Well, no, I mean, we've got other assets. Like, okay, well, talk to me about it. Because the thing is like, unless you've got other assets to take care of it, the only reason you would buy this is, the only reason you would take a Max Survivor, do you know what the reasons are, Rick?
No,
why you would take
Alex?
it? The reasons you would take the Max Survivor annuity are because you either don't have enough assets to provide for your wife, you don't have any life insurance, or you can't afford the life insurance anymore, then this is the best life insurance policy you can buy.
Yep.
Right? But
that you're not having to directly pay for.
Right.
You're losing an option for it, but you're not having to give extra money to pay for it.
Right. You're paying for this life insurance policy here, and and it's easy for you to do, right? It's easy to get, but you're paying for this life insurance for your spouse. It is fully, it's like a worse life insurance policy. It's from a life insurance policy from a company that doesn't do life insurance. Even Fegley is offered by MetLife. It's not just offered by the government. So you've got this Max Survivor. It's fully taxable and completely illiquid. But if you were able to take this $159 and maybe even just a tiny bit more, you'd be able to provide your spouse with better life insurance policies, or take that money and keep your Fegley. Take the Max Survivor. I know but you've just diminished the cost. You've taken $250 less $159 essentially, because now you're not taking the Max Survivor, you're taking the unreduced, increasing yourself by $159, increasing your payout. So it's $250 less the $59, but now you're able to provide your spouse the day you pass away $102,000 completely tax-free, that she can start to take distribution on however she wants, or put it into an account that grows interest, or take that money and put it into
whatever else
an annuity.
Yeah.
I mean, but you could buy an annuity.
Yeah.
You know, you could do that.
And
here's my first mention of like an annuity. You know what an annuity? I mean, it's like your pension. Like, get her another pension with the $102,000. And there are annuities out there that you can buy that are like, have got growth potential to it. There's all kinds of annuities. They're not like our parents' annuities anymore. And so you've got to take a look at your options. But then the other thing is like, okay, well then maybe, this is maybe too expensive. Maybe this isn't enough money to provide for my spouse. Yeah. But that's when federal employees start to take a look at what's called supplemental policies, right? You're going to start taking a look at supplemental policies. Okay? There's all kinds of options out there. You don't have to stick with Fegley, but the thing is, you've got to take a look at options to provide your spouse with some sort of income in retirement, right? But this isn't the way to do it. There's better ways, either life insurance from Fegley, life insurance from outside sources, or from your deferred retirement accounts or other accounts that you have. That's the better part. That's the best choice. Yeah. Because quite frankly, Rick, what is life insurance for?
Paying for things.
Protecting against dying too
soon,
long. Yeah. Yep. Too young, right? But that's like the perfect answer, right? Yeah. That's what people start to say, is like they say something else. But it's like, no, the real source is to have life insurance because you were too young to have built up assets enough to take care of your loved ones if the worst should happen to you, right? But now you're older, you're about to retire. You should have some money to pass along to your wife. But yeah, $102,000 is your basic only. That's not enough to provide your wife with a full income. That's 1 year of your income, right? And are we talking about a severe quality of life shift?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or severely diminished expenses in retirement? No, you're going to have the same expenses that you had in retirement. A lot of retirees have the mixed conception that they're going to get rid of all their expenses. You might pay off the house.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cars maybe.
But I'll bet you when the house is paid off, your health insurance or your health expenses will go back through the roof, right? So if we haven't taken care of those things, we've got to. Talk to me about your situation here then, because I want to make sure that we get the best allocation strategy for you. I'm still bringing it back to the allocation strategy. If you have other assets, what is your plan to do? Do you have any other assets that you work with or are planning to use in retirement to take care of the missus?
How long have I been working for the federal government?
18 years.
18 years? Yeah, I've got an old 401k from my last job that I worked at before the federal government.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And what about, I mean, this is everything under the sun, right? Because we can use whatever we need to start planning. This will help us put an allocation strategy together for the TSP for the rest of our career and beyond, okay? So talk to me a little bit about other assets. What else do you have? You have like money market accounts, checking accounts, savings accounts. Like where are you putting money?
Schwab account that I kind of swing trade in, and then.
But like, how much are we talking? It's like, let's talk about. Okay, so you got a Schwab account, and you've got a you said a 401k, past employer 401k. What about the missus? She have anything from an old job? She's got a 401k.
She's got a 401k.
She's got a Roth too. You said okay, yeah, you got a Roth. Okay, great. Now talk to me. So the Schwab, we got how much in that? 50,000.
Yeah, about 50,000.
You got 50,000.
Depending on the day and how well I'm doing.
What about your 401k?
401k has got a 250,000 last time I looked.
250,000. Okay, fantastic. Okay, and then what about the 401k? Your wife's 401k.
I think she's got $150 in there.
$150 in there. Okay, there we go. What about the Roth that she carries?
About another 100.
100k. Okay. All right. And so talk to me about the exposure of these, because that'll tell us what we need to do with our TSP. What kind of exposure do you have here?
What do you mean exposure?
Like to risk. Like what kind of, are they in safe money? Are they in stock market? Are they in ETFs? Are they in different Vanguard accounts? Are they in money markets or CDs? I mean, like, talk to me about that.
The Schwab, like I said, I'm day trading that, and then me and the wife's 401ks and Roth are all in different index funds.
Index funds, okay.
Yeah, and a couple ETFs and stuff mixed in, but
okay, all right, and we're getting some decent returns, I imagine.
Yeah,
you check on this kind of stuff regularly.
Yeah, semi-regularly.
Okay, so when you did that, why keep these assets exposed to the market and move the TSP to the G fund?
Because I'm looking at retiring, and I'd like to not have it in the TSP. You know, have better funds.
But why not shift all of our assets to the safe money strategy and not just the G fund, just the TSP monies?
Because I like growth.
Okay, so you want to stick with the growth, right? Like, they wouldn't have a real answer there. They're like, oh no, there's no rhyme or reason. Yeah. They're either managed to this, so that's what I'm trying to pull out of them. There's like, is there a manager of these funds, or is this just left behind, and this is your day trading account, which is more likely for a federal employee, right? Otherwise, he'd be talking to them about it. And if he did have a guy, what does he say about your G fund? Did he tell you to do this? What has he said about your federal stuff? I start to drive the web.
Has he talked to you about your pension? Has he talked to you about it?
What is he telling you to do from your max survivor annuity, right? Okay, well, here's what you got to talk to him about, all right? And I start to drive that wedge there and say, look, okay, we've got these other accounts. We need to start taking a look at these assets that you have and decide, okay, look, we don't need life insurance. We've got assets. You're in a position where you don't need assets. So why wouldn't we take the money that we have, make sure that we're properly securing funds enough to secure our misses, not 795, but much, much more than that potentially, and with tax-wise distribution. Do you know what that means, Rick?
No, what's that mean, Alex?
Making sure that when we make moves to distribute assets from our tax-deferred retirement assets, it basically means that we've chosen to not pay taxes on these assets now because maybe we're in a high tax bracket or whatever, or it's just something that you heard is a good thing to do, whatever you thought it was. We've got a partner in distributing those assets in retirement. That's the IRS. We've got to pay our taxes coming out, but we can do it in a strategic manner that would allow us to pull out these funds in a way that would allow the max amount of money to come out, make sure we're not overpaying or taking too many distributions from different accounts or getting too much exposure to where our Social Security becomes 85 or 100% taxable, right? 100% of the 85%, right? Of 85% taxable. There's ways for you to eliminate the taxes on Social Security completely. So we can take a look at some of those options, but essentially what you've got to decide is like, okay, is this the smartest idea for me? Because I'll tell you what, it's not. For you, with a guy with all kinds of assets, the best thing you can do is put a plan in place to go ahead and secure as much asset as you can. These other accounts that you have down here, these accounts and your TSP 371,000, making sure as much of this is secured to cover all of our expenses or your expenses while you're both alive, and the expenses that'll be left over, including burial costs and stuff like that for the missus when you should, if you should pass away before her. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But that allows us to at least be getting as much money as we possibly can from our pension to help us set things up for success. We're both going to get Social Security. We're both going to have a pension. We're both, or you're going to have a pension, and we're going to set up basically another pension to take care of the misses in retirement, should the worst happen. And now, we don't need this pension to have streamlining income out right now. We can defer income on that. We can basically do all this. There's all kinds of things you can do, but you've got to take a look at all of these different options here. What can we do with these accounts to make sure we're securing it? Does that make sense? Do you understand what securing assets mean?
No.
Basically means getting rid, the market goes up and down, right? Getting rid of this. Not on all of the money, but eliminating downside risk completely. And there's a few products out there that you can use to do that. This could be a problem for you. If you don't address the issue, you will be forced to provide your spouse, unfortunately, a lackluster retirement. a lackluster, less options than she possibly can. And so when I sit down with folks, the option is to get as much out of our benefits as possible. That's the goal. So when I sit down with folks, especially, my clients that I sit down with, because like I mentioned in the first appointment, I run a financial practice here. And so all of my federal employee clients, I sit down with them and I put a maximization strategy together. But as a FRC, I feel it my duty to kind of show you the way to maximize. Well, I'm telling you, it's to take this unreduced annuity, get rid of your FEGLI, and I can show you how to do all that stuff. But more importantly, you've got to, before you decide to go with the unreduced amount, you have to secure the income you need in retirement. And we've talked a little bit about your expenses. We talked about a few other things. I'm happy to put together a quick proposal for you where we can take a look at all the different, there's tons of options for securing, but it's about making sure what's right for you and right for the missus in that situation. Is that something that you'd be interested in me doing for you? I can run those reports. We can put all that stuff together. And basically, we'd come back and do another appointment. I'll walk you through all the different options, not only for making decisions on your pension, but also taking a look at, FEGLI options. Do we want to do the 75% reduction or not? Do we want to go ahead and take a look at your TSP distribution options? We'll take a look at some of that stuff. What is the best way for us? Is there another way for us to better secure our assets other than in the G fund and keep up with inflation, right? But also not only solve the income need we have today, but also
possible ones for the future.
And do Social Security analysis as well if you'd like to. Okay. But we'll go through all of that. Essentially, that's what I'm going to do. If you decide you'd like to do that, I'll basically, it's no cost, right? This is just a matter of us running all the reports. So basically, if you want to go into that appointment, I'm going to go and I'm going to do a whole bunch of homework. I'm going to look through everything about these assets. I'm going to take a look at all the different options out there, run some other analysis softwares that we have here in my practice. And then basically we'll sit down, we'll take a look at all the different options. You guys can decide what's right for you and basically just pick each section. We'll start with the pension, go to Social Security, go to the FEGLI or life insurance options, and then finally take a look at some of the other assets and how we best secure those assets. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Right? Takes an hour, blah, 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 if you want to go through that. Okay, perfect. So all I'm going to need from you is these few reports, right? And I start to show them the different reports that I'm going to need. So security report, this is how you do that. I'm going to have my assistant, if you have an assistant, I'm going to have my assistant send you over a couple of links so you can get your Social Security report. I'm also, in the meantime, while you're getting me that, I'm going to be running some additional analysis on your FEGLI stuff, as well as running Social Security, or not Social Security analysis, some different options for securing assets and how we'll get maximum growth with limited downside potential, okay? Including taking the TSP. Sometimes it's about staying in the TSP with some assets. I'm telling you, like sometimes the TSP is fantastic. And you know that, right, Rick? I mean, it's like, but let's remember what the best things about, I almost forgot to say this because this is part of when I'm talking about, when I'm introing to TSP, the first thing I'm saying is like, you know what's great about the TSP, Rick?
What's that?
There's basically two things that are great about the TSP. The first is the low fees. Right? Very, very low fees. That's a pretty darn good thing. But let's not confuse. The best part about the TSP is what?
To me, it's the match.
It's the match. It's 100% the match. Look, you can go and buy government bonds anywhere. You can go and get fixed assets anywhere. You can go, government
S&P
securities,
fund,
and then you can go and get bond funds in the F fund anywhere. You can get S&P
open
stock
up a Vanguard
index
account and get the exact same funds.
You can get all of these exact same funds anywhere. So it's not fund performance. That's the reason the TSP is done so well for you. The reason you love your TSP is because of that 5% match. Guess what's going away in retirement?
The match.
And too many federal employees start to cling to the fact that TSP has been a good cozy home and everything like that, but don't forget why the TSP
was great.
Why
it's performed
so well. You just said it. It's the match and it's gone. So if that's going away, what's keeping you there? Low fees? Okay, that's fine. And in some instances, keeping money in the TSP because it's low fee, but I'll tell you, you can get a Vanguard account for just about the same amount of fee. Schwab account for the same amount of fees. It's pretty wild. Same kind of thing. Why? Because there's a very passive management.
It's passive. It's some of the most consistent funds in the country.
Yeah.
There's no active management of it, and it's just your typical index fund. So it's dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap. And the L fund is just target date fund. I mean, it's just, and so when you phrase it to them that way, now you've got them convinced. It's like, oh yeah, that's why I love the TSP. Oh yeah, that is going away. What,
So why stay?
do you know your distribution options with TSP? No.
No, of course not. I don't.
Of course you don't know your DSP. You're just like, okay, well, I know I can just take out money when I need it. Is that what your plan was?
Yeah, just to withdraw it whenever you want it.
But that's the problem. You know what you could happen if you continue down that path? Tax issues, big tax issues. You're pulling too much money out here, and now you've completely taxed your Social Security.
If you're not pulling out enough, you've got tax issues. If you're pulling out too much, of course, you run into sequence of returns and down markets and all those kind of things that go into it.
Exactly right. And so what you owe it to yourself to do is start looking at all the different options out there, because there are ways for you to completely eliminate the downside and continue to completely capitalize on the upside without any fee attachment whatsoever, and have a systematic approach that guarantees distribution of asset for the rest of your life and potentially your wife's life if you'd like. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, look, we'll run through it. Okay, so when's a good time for us to get back together?
Yeah.
And that's it, right? And I'm not trying to push it a long way. I'm going to go in because, quite frankly, I'm going in for the close in the next appointment. Worst case scenario, we have 2 appointments left.
Yep.
Third appointment's pretty simple, though.
You got a lot of open doors still, or a lot of problems. I mean, but most of the time you're closing on the third. I mean, most people are closing on the third.
Yeah. The thing is like, you've got to be, it's always the same thing. Second appointment. Pension, start with the pension, go to the FEGLI, go to the TSP.
Yep.
I can't help you with your TSP unless we decide what we're going to be doing with our life insurance. We're getting rid of the life insurance because we have a lot of assets. Okay, fine. What are we doing with the pension? Do you decide that you're going to take the full survivor or max survivor annuity? Okay, well, why? What's your thought there? Well, I want to give my wife as much as possible. Why? You have plenty of assets over here. Why are you buying more life insurance for her? Well, I've got my pension and she's going to lose that. Well, then that's just the only reason that we'd be concerned about that is because we didn't secure enough assets down here, or we think we're going to draw these assets too much. What if we were able to either buy more life insurance to take care of that need for her, or put in place a playbook that would allow us to secure as many of our deferred assets as possible for systematic distribution, not just for your life, but for both of your lives, that would allow you to maximize your federal pension, or get rid of this FEGLI life insurance that's going to be costing you too much. And so you see, it's like if they don't have enough assets.
The sales process works the same way no matter what, I guess, client situation's in, or what amount of funds or anything they're working with, right? Like, you can't determine, like you said, walk from FERS to the FEGLI to the TSP. You circle the TSP back to answer the solutions to what life insurance they're going to choose and what pension option they're going to choose. And no matter what situation they're in, if they don't have a spouse, the survivor benefit option still plays into FEGLI, because you do generally have a beneficiary, somebody they're going to leave money to. And if they don't have somebody they're leaving money to, you look at an asset-based long-term care company, because frankly, if they're not leaving money to anyone, there's nobody that's going to take care of them. But each one, you're solving that issue still going back to the TSP. So it doesn't really matter where the federal employee is or where the client is. The sales process loops back to all of them, and you can answer the same situation.
I've had plenty of single people come on the phone calls with us. It's like, okay, you got a single person with no wife or kids. Really no beneficiaries to think of, and if they did, it wasn't a concern of them to leave them provide for them. Okay, so you're going to take the max, or you're going to take the unreduced annuity, right?
Yeah,
it's your only option,
you have,
right?
yep.
So you got unreduced annuity. You don't have life insurance because why would you, right? So you're left with this TSP. You've got tons of money in your TSP. Okay, well, so what's your thought here? What are you looking to do in retirement, right? Are you potentially going to travel the world? Yeah, I'm going to travel the world. Okay, and you're going to do this, that, or the other. You know, like whatever your goals are to go. Okay, fine. Why wouldn't we want to tuck away more money just to take care of the issues? Like, so the worst thing that any retiree does is just say, I've got so many assets, I'm going to keep them exposed to the market, and I don't really care if the market goes up and down. I'm not saying as a single male, Rick, you don't need to secure, I mean, you don't have as much a need to secure assets as somebody with loved ones. That's for sure. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't secure some of it, not all of it. you've got 600,000 in your TSP, like you said to me, right?
Yep.
Okay. What if you took 100,000 of it and just completely secured it from downside risk? The reason being, you want to make sure there's some funds around that can make sure that you're covering your health issues, or, you know, something with a doubler I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of something that has some sort of, payout factor for them that allows them to really take advantage of the product.
The whole point is, while you're out traveling the world, you don't have to pull from the money that's down in the market right now, because we secured some of it. You can start taking that income and let your accounts grow back up in the meantime.
Yes.
And on top of that, if anything does happen to you while you're traveling, you fall, you hurt yourself, we've got some additional coverage.
No doubt. I mean, it's just a simple conversation with them. This is all you need to do.
Yep.
Okay. So you go through a 5-page report with them. You start making your way back to whatever their main question was from the first appointment. I don't care if it's about the pension, FEGLI, or TSP. You make your way back to that question and say, look, what we decide to do with this depends on how we take our pension. So if it's a life insurance question, what do I do with my life insurance? Well, that depends on what we plan to do with our health and our pension,
assets,
right? Doesn't it?
Assets, yep.
It has to, because you've got this pension that you're potentially going to buy a life insurance policy for your spouse on. Well, then why do you need this life insurance policy? Okay, well, and quite frankly, it also depends on how much TSP assets, because the best solution is to just draw on the assets that we have saved up for to provide for our spouse, if we can. If we can't, then we need life insurance. And if we need life insurance, I'm sure as hell not buying the pension version of life insurance that's fully taxed and completely illiquid.
Yep.
So I need my FEGLI. No, FEGLI stinks. It's expensive. So then we look at supplemental options outside.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, you do have assets enough. All right, well, then I'm not going to buy more life insurance because I don't need it. If I just secure assets that I have and make some life insurance out of it, make a distribution, a structured distribution, secure it from downside risk, but with upside potential over the next few years, defer it out until the inevitable happens, I pass away, my wife is left there, and now I turn on income for her. Or it passes on to her. Maybe it was an annuity or life insurance or annuity policy on myself, and we just secured that asset, and I pass it on to her in a form of death benefit. Now she's got some asset that she can completely do something with if she wanted to, if she's set up and she's fine. Then we use that money, and she can help Johnny pay off his house. She can do some sort of good with that if she wanted to, or she can just buy herself an annuity at that point.
Yep.
Right?
Make her own pension out of it.
The problem is like, look, you buy this life insurance policy from the government. This is the last time I'm going to go back to it, but there's another downside that I just remembered. If you go and you buy that pension, life insurance, the max survivor, not only is it something that's fully taxable, a life insurance policy that's fully taxable in payout, and illiquid, completely illiquid, zero options other than this structured settlement.
Yep.
If my wife passes away 2 months after I do, a year after I do, it's gone. Nobody else gets it.
Yep.
But if I gave her life insurance, $200,000, $300,000 policy from a regular insurance company, and she passed away, that is real money in her pocket that would pass on to her heirs. Right?
Yeah.
Same thing goes with her TSP. TSP passes on to spouse. She buys an annuity. The annuity has a beneficiary. She buys an annuity with her, TSP assets, or let's say I bought an annuity. My wife gets the remaining account value after I pass away, and then she passes away shortly thereafter. That money can then pass on to the next of kin. Much better situation than this pension that just ran for 2 more months and then was gone, completely gone. And I paid for it for a long time. I could have taken that $159. I could have taken maybe that and a little bit more and bought myself an incredible, robust life insurance policy. If they're a little younger, maybe you have pre-existings, or I took some sort of other asset of the $450,000 that you told me you had that you didn't need, secured it, saved it for a rainy day with a max upside potential, accumulation, annuity, or something like that. If they need income and I see an income gap there, I put something and secure it for income needs, especially if, like you said, a down market happens or something like that, then we can draw on this asset rather than.
Yep.
Anyway, that's the second appointment, everybody.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. If you run through those appointments, just that way, I assure you, you're going to have success, and you're going to end up in a situation where they don't have answers. You've created a problem for them, and then they're basically you know, going to kind of defer to you to go out and find solutions because they've never been approached like this. Right?
Yep.
That's it. Anyway, thanks, Rick. That was awesome.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Always good.
You know, we're going to cover the closing appointment here next, and that's always an exciting one. But this is the meat and potatoes. This is where you cover your ground. This is where you set yourself up and say, hey, look, I'm about to go do a bunch of homework. You want me to do it?
Yep.
And you're like, yep, I want you to do it. And then, okay, let's go.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody, if you enjoy the appointment, please let us know. If you're enjoying the video series, please go on to the next video, you know, and, you know, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. It was definitely a long one, but it's definitely a crucial one. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll see you right here next time on Coffee for Closing.